So so a brother can, God forbid, marry a sister. And then we're going to fill up the word with halachic mamzerim. And indeed, regarding this, the Torah says, we're quoting here a pasuk from Parshas Kedoshim, Umala ha'aret zima. Now this pasuk begins by writing that al techalel es bitcha lahaznoisa, that a person should not allow his daughter to become a zoina. And the pasuk concludes Umala ha'aret zima, meaning because if children are born into the world and they don't know who the father is, they don't know where they come from, it might come out that a brother will marry a sister and that will create mamzerus. So how was he allowed? How was Rav Nachman allowed to marry a wife in a whole different location? Answers the Gemara Amri, indeed. Normally a person may not do so because you won't know who your father is. But over here, since the father was Rav, if this short-term wife indeed had a child with Rav, then the child will know that you know who your father is. Your father is Rav. So Rabbanan Koila Islahu. And being that the children will know who the father is, they're never going to turn out to marry their sibling. Now the Gemara has another question. However, we have a rule that whenever a person proposes his wife to be in marriage, and Vinispaisa, and she accepts to get married, so right away the rule is tzricha leishav shiva nakim, you have to count shivas nakim. And this is because of a concept known as dam chimud, which means blood of desire. Meaning that when a woman knows she's about to get married, there's a possibility that a drop of blood will leave her rechem, which will render her into a nida. And now after Benois Yisrael, Ichmiru Alatzman v'chulei, so we always count Shivas Nikiyim. So again, how did Rav come to a city and announce who wants to marry me for today? How can that woman marry him? How can he marry her? You always l'chora should need Shivas Nikiyim. Answers the Gemara that Rabbanan oiduye have a moidelu, that the Chachamim would let know in advance, prior to coming to a location, that they will be coming there. Migdam have mekadmei umeshadrei shlucha. They would send a messenger. So a woman that would agree in this location, right, in Darshish, that she's going to marry Rav for that short amount of time, she would know about that, she would acquiesce to that a week or more prior to, and indeed she counted the Shivas Nikim, so there's no problem. That's answer number one. Answer number two, that the whole marriage is not the way you understand it, and this answer will answer both questions, that Yechudei have miyachad. In other words, the goal of the marriage was not to be allowed to be together like a husband and a wife. The goal of this marriage is, in order for him to be married, only for him to be allowed to be together with her, even though indeed having relations would have been prohibited. And as we mentioned before, that the whole concept of these short marriages was that these great Amoraim wanted to keep themselves away from even the slightest degree of temptation. And by nature, when a man is married and his wife is with him in that location, he's further removed from even a havamina of temptation. And that's why he got married. And as Chazal say, you cannot compare someone who has bread in his basket to someone who doesn't have bread in his basket. And it's not that if bread is in your basket, it means you're going to eat it. The fact that you know that you have bread in your basket, b'chlal, you're not that hungry. And here, just to speak out quickly, that Tosfos raises the obvious question, and this, we are familiar with this dinim, that in order for a man to be allowed to have yichud with his wife when she is in nida, two preconditions are needed. Precondition number one is that he was already at least once with her. Precondition number two is that they will be allowed to be together again. Which is why after there's the be'ilas mitzvah of the night of the marriage, then if a woman becomes a nida, there's no problem with yichud. Because he was with her once, and he will be allowed to be with her after she becomes tohira. But if a man was never with his wife yet, let's speak about a chupas nida, for example, then indeed there's a issur of having yichud, and that's the issue that Tosfos has to deal with. But the kids are coming back over here. This is a very interesting concept of a very short-term marriage, and God willing, tomorrow we will come back to Erev Yom Kippur, to the preparation of the Kohen Gadol.